newer, which is not good. So, this can be largely attributed to the use of automatic weapons and dangerous semi-automatic weapons, and this is a big reason why these weapons can be banned from citizens, from people not in the military or law enforcement. According to gunsite.com, under the Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986, it is illegal for civilians to purchase automatic weapons right now, but or illegal to purchase automatic weapons that were made after 1986. So people can still get automatic weapons if they're made before 1986. They just have to go through a process where they pay $200 to the government. They have to go through a thorough background check, and it usually takes a long time to get, but they can still get them, which isn't good. The House is proposing that they should not be able to get these at all, and even some dangerous semi-automatic rifles should have a more thorough process in being attained, because as of right now, semi-automatic rifles can be purchased by pretty much anyone without a background check. Okay. Another problem with this is that Americans wanted, in a poll from The Wire by Philip Bump in 2013, up to 50% of Americans wanted better enforcement on gun control rather than new laws, yet they didn't really know the laws laws on gun control. So a more informed public on the issue is also a good way to cancel this problem. This problem is a big problem because there have been, according to Riot.com, in 2013, there were 30 different school shootings, and that involved some sort of automatic weapon or some very serious automatic rifle. And also, in addition to this, according to SmartGunLaws.com, in 2013, the incidents in which assault weapons or these dangerous semi-auto weapons are used, 135% more people were shot and 75% more people were killed, as opposed to weapons that were not this kind. Another big problem is that they're too easy to get. Semi-automatic firearms and semi-auto are too easy to attain by people. The AR-15 that was used at the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, according to an article by Greenberg and CNN, showed that it was a semi-auto rifle that did, the AR was a F-15, was a particular semi-auto, and this weapon can be purchased with no background check. So this House proposes to solve these problems by performing background checks on pretty much every person that needs or that wants to buy a gun, including the semi-automatics. Thoroughly examining these people would also block mentally ill or physically enable people to buy these guns, while also keeping the automatic weapons out of the hands of the entire public. We also propose that the Second Amendment be amended, even though this can be difficult and take some time. The Second Amendment is outdated, and civilians, right now you have the right to bear arms, so you can get certain automatic weapons or certain semi-auto. We propose that you should not be able to have any automatic weapons whatsoever, and only particular semi-automatic weapons. And then also we propose that you could charge people with automatic weapons, if they were to somehow have them now, with under the clear and present danger clause, which, like, I don't know if you guys know what this is, but the clear and present danger clause is like yelling fire in a theater, basically. And so you have your right at the First Amendment to yell or to speak whatever you want, but you're still putting people in danger by saying this. So the Second Amendment, you're allowed to bear guns, but if you have an automatic weapon, then you're clearly posing a threat to people, so it's clear and presently dangerous to people. If you charge them with that, it's much more difficult to commit the crimes. And then we also want to limit the amount of bullets. Obviously, Adam Lanza in his shooting that he had used AR-15s, and if he had a smaller magazine, there'd probably be less deaths, as we spoke about earlier. And that is
Therefore, for all these
reasons, you please vote for the government.
and we would like you to ban
automatic weapons, and now I stand for cross-examination.
Thank you very much. Chair will now recognize the leader of the opposition for a cross-examination of 3 minutes in length. Would both members please stand for cross-examination? Thank you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Farhan, and
Hi, Farhan.
I heard your speech was very good. I just had a couple questions. My first question would be, you said that because the rate of mass shootings has increased, we should therefore ban all automatic weapons and some semi-automatic weapons. I just had a question. So if like the car crash rate was to go up by next year and a couple years from now, does that mean we should start banning cars as well?
No, because it's different with guns, obviously, because if you have an automatic weapon, it has a more potential and the certain semi-automatic weapons as opposed to the semi-automatic weapons that we don't propose to ban is they obviously offer more of a dangerous element to them, whereas cars
Farhan, look at your audience, not him.
are all, for the most part, the same, and it doesn't really matter if you were to change it or not. If you get in a car crash, you're going to get in a car crash as opposed to inflicting more damage with an automatic weapon or a dangerous semi-automatic weapon.
So you said that we should ban citizens from having these guns, and by banning these guns, semi-automatic rifles and some semi-automatic weapons and all fully automatic weapons, it's going to keep the guns out from the public. My question is, because there are so many weapons in circulation right now, how would you curb criminals from gaining or access to these semi-automatic weapons?
Obviously, there's going to be a black market for any type of thing like this, especially like this or drugs or something like that, but I think that if you were to, from now on, the background checks I think is a big deal. If anybody has a criminal record, they probably should be limited on what they can purchase. And that's what I was trying to make the point earlier on the clear and present danger. Obviously, it's easy to hide a firearm without being checked, but if you do see it, charging people with this, because you can't necessarily tell if someone is carrying, in some states it's legal to carry a firearm, so if you're carrying this type of gun and it's kind of hard without having an officer go up to you and talk to you to prove that you don't legally own it. So I guess I'd say the clear and present danger type of deal would be a good way to get that in check.
Thank you. We're out of time.
You have 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
You have one more question?
Well, okay, so my follow up to that would be like the Sandy Hook. The guy got the weapon, but he didn't own it legally. So how would you try to prevent those mass shootings from happening if it's not going to work?
Yeah,
Real quick answer.
obviously, people can get their friends or something like that to buy guns for them legally, especially, well, that's what the background check is for. Obviously, Adam Lanza couldn't buy it because he had mental problems, but his friend can buy it for him. So that's why I'm saying if you ban for all citizens, then that clears that even too. You can't have people buy it for you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That brings us now to the leader of the opposition for a speech not to exceed 7 minutes in length. Hear, hear.
Hi, my name is Farhan.
Hi, Farhan.
I'm going to, as the leader of the opposition, argue against banning automatic weapons because I don't think it'll solve the issue of gun violence. So to start off, my resolutional analysis, as I said, this proposition is going to be presented in the negative, and I just like to go over the definitions. Keaton, or the government, said in the beginning of his speech, and for ban, We're talking about the United States government to officially or legally prohibit. And automatic weapons we define as any firearm that continuously fires rounds as long as the trigger is pressed. And semi-automatic is any firearms that shoots one round for each time the trigger is depressed. So what is the problem? As he said, the guns are used for a tool for violence. According to the injury and mortality reports, about 2/3 of murders are committed with a firearm. According to a 2006 study by Princeton University Press, 1 in 3 people in the U.S. know someone who has been shot. And on average, 32 Americans are murdered with guns every day, and 140 are treated for a gun assault in the emergency room. According to the Center for Disease Control, National Center for Injury Prevention, every day, on average, 51 people kill themselves with a firearm, and 45 people are shot or killed in an accident with a gun. On top of this, according to the Washington Post, the U.S. firearm homicide rate is 20 times higher than the combined rates of 22 countries that are similar in wealth and population. Therefore, there are approximately 81,300 non-fatal injuries and 31,672 deaths every year involving guns. So to put that in perspective, that works out to be about 308 shootings and 86 deaths every single day. And this problem is very big. In addition to the statistics just mentioned, gun violence has impacted children and young adults. This includes mass shootings, and to provide more of a perspective, according to Children's Exposure to Violence, a comprehensive national survey, more than 1 in 5 U.S. teenagers, which is 14 to 17, according to this report having witnessed a shooting. An average of 8 children and teens under the age of 20 are killed by guns every day, and American children die by guns 11 times as often as children in other high-income countries. And firearm homicide is the second leading cause of death after motor vehicle crashes for young people ages 1 through 19 in the United States. So why do we have this problem? Just to put this out there, I don't think that I think there is a problem, but I don't think banning assault weapons or semi-automatic/automatic weapons is the solution to this problem, because there have been studies, for example, about the ban of the 1994 or 2004 assault weapons ban. A study by Congress said that these banned weapons and magazines were rarely used in a modest fraction of all gun murders. And for example, in California, after its 1989 ban on these large magazines, the murder rate increased every year for 5 years, 26% overall. California again banned guns in the year 2000, and the murder rate again increased 12% higher of the national rate. So, as you can see, that these types of banning guns or banning automatic weapons does not actually help reduce crime. Sometimes it actually increases it. So my solution would be that we should have a relationship on the interpersonal level with individuals. So a lot of these, according to researchers, a lot of the reason for these mass shootings is possible mental issues in individuals. Researchers found that mental health problems such as trauma from broken homes, prior to physical or sexual abuse, psychotic behavior with symptoms of personality disorders and paranoid delusions. A lot of these individuals had a history of being socially ostracized, and in many of these incidents, the perpetrator has made comments to attack one or more people before its occurrence. So there is a way to solve this problem, and this would be at the individual level or the community level because for having different programs. For example, in a study by Null, he advocates that teaching...
What date?
I believe it's in 2010. He advocates teaching compassion, nonviolence, and personal responsibility at a young age in order to go beneath the problem and implement a primary prevention. So, in conclusion, I would say that research has shown that violence prevention programs have contributed to the decline in the related homicide rate. Gun-related homicide rate will continue to drop as efforts on the individual, community, and societal level are implemented to prevent gun violence. So all in all, although these types of programs will not eliminate violence altogether, effective prevention programs can do much to reduce its prevalence. And we need more mental health services to be focused on anger and alienation, in addition to the traditional problems to help really solve this problem.
Thank you.
And for those reasons, please oppose the ban on.
Don't ban automatic weapons. Okay, thank you.
And I now stand for cross-examination.
Thank you very much.
Okay, very nice speech. I have a couple questions I'd like to ask in a cross-examination of the opposition's stance. So you were saying that increasing amount of people were being shot, or a lot of people have seen guns in general. Do you think that it does not matter what type of gun was being used in each situation?
Well, in my opinion, I think that if there is someone who's going to do a mass shooting, for example, like Adam Lanza or the individual who shot so many people in a theater, they usually go through a process before of thinking, okay, what gun am I going to use? How am I going to do this? So limiting certain types of guns isn't going to solve the issue, because these people don't follow the rules. They're not going to look and say, well, these guns are banned, so I'm not going to use them. They're going to find them, and they can find them easily, and they're going to use them. So, I would disagree with that.
And then you were saying that what were you saying about the mentally ill and how they have the ones that often cause problems having these weapons with them. But wouldn't the background checks that I proposed solve a lot of those problems?
Well, actually, yeah. Personally, I'm in my proposition. I didn't lay it out, but I'm actually for background checks because I think that this will help curb the problem of people with mental health issues or felony or criminal record gaining guns. Because I think about 30 to 40% of people who will get access to these guns do it through private distributors, and they're able to get these guns without these background checks. So I do think these background checks are necessary, and there should be universal background checks. However, I don't think that banning automatic weapons has anything to do with that, and I don't think that will solve the problem.
Okay, I have one final question, and that is, you were saying that the automatic weapons were not used in a lot of the gun reporting incidents. However, in my research, I found in a 2013 article from Mother Jones that more than half of the killers studied in 62 mass shootings over the last 30 years used automatic weapons or seriously dangerous semi-auto weapons. And if these incidents are happening on the wide news coverage, wouldn't this encourage more incidents like this from people maybe attempting to do the same thing?
Well, personally, I do think it's a problem that there's so much, because of the coverage, and I'm saying there should be coverage, but these things shouldn't be happening. But a lot of these people who do these mass shootings do not get these guns legally. So instead of banning the weapons, we should have prevention programs instead of going out and taking them away from civilians. Thank you.
Okay, is that your time? Okay, 10 seconds, that's good. Thank you. Okay, Chair will now recognize for rebuttal purposes the leaders of the opposition, of the government.
All right, so now
For 4 steps of refutation.
all right, so I do have some advantages I'd like to say in my refutation of this, and that is that you said that increasing education programs will help, and I disagree in a sense, because increasing education programs as opposed to gun violence, not necessarily going to stop people from using guns. Sure, it's going to help people to know how much danger they cause, but it's not going to prevent them from going out and using these weapons and putting them into place in society.
Therefore,
I
we still need.
Therefore, I would like you guys to agree with me and ban automatic weapons
Thank you.
from being used. Also, I think that banning automatic weapons will drastically reduce the amount of dangerous firearms that will be used in mass shootings and just basically in general. You said that automatic weapons don't necessarily find themselves in a lot of the gun shootings. I disagree, because the most influential crimes that we have seen were performed with these dangerous automatic weapons or very dangerous semi-automatic weapons that act in a very similar fashion. And therefore, I also encourage you guys to vote for the government and the affirmative position to ban automatic weapons.
Good.
And it's also, we can, one last thing I'd like to say is, for this law to take place, it might be a good thing to tweak the Second Amendment to completely take out all all automatic and certain semi-automatic weapons. That way, people who are opponents of the Second Amendment can still be happy and carry a gun like they should, as our rights as Americans allow us to, but it can also keep dangerous criminals and people who have no place owning these type of dangerous guns without guns. And for all these reasons, please vote for the government's position to ban all automatic weapons. Thank you.
What was this time? Yeah, a minute 17 left. Okay, good. Thank you. And for our final rebuttal of four-step refutation, we'll hear from the leader of the opposition. What a tragedy. You want to leave your vote with us? Okay, good. Yeah, vote often and vote many times.
November 4th.
Begin.
All right, so I wanted to start out by making a refutation, Keaton's first point, or the government's first point, and he said that these gun prevention programs won't help at all. I disagree, because actually my research shows that violence prevention programs have actually contributed to a decline in gun-related homicide rates. So therefore, I disagree with his claim, and I think that banning automatic weapons is just this rhetoric that's been spewed by a lot of politicians, and it doesn't actually help to get at the root cause. Second thing is, he said that banning these weapons, again, will decrease, he keeps saying banning these weapons will decrease the homicide rate and decrease people from getting murdered. But evidence, such as the National Institute of Justice, with fellow criminologist Dan Woods, cited in the Wall Street Journal that we cannot clearly credit the ban, referring to the 1994 ban on assault weapons, with any of the nation's recent drop in gun violence. And indeed, there has been no discernible reduction in the lethality and injuriousness of gun violence. So, therefore, I do not think that proposing this amendment or proposing the ban on automatic weapons will solve this issue of gun violence. Also, he said that school shootings have increased, yet school shootings is a very vague term. I don't know exactly what it is. It's very broad. It could be a very broad definition. Does it distinguish between a student at a college who accidentally discharges his gun at his dorm room, or a child or somebody committing suicide? Is that considered a school shooting? And many of these times, those are considered school shootings according to these statistics that are done. Also, he says that school shootings have increased, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, because overall, in 2003, the murder rate fell 4.7 for every 100,000 people. School shootings are rare, with an average of 300 shootings every day, and it should be no surprise that few of them are near schools, but they're not where most of the shootings happen. That's just what what we see in the media, and they're not very reflective of a bit of what we should do when we want to take care of semi-automatic weapons. And lastly, I just want to leave with the Second Amendment, which says that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And this ban totally contradicts this amendment because these weapons are for self-defense and they're to keep from an insurrection or a government takeover. Even though that's unlikely to happen, we should keep that principle. And lastly, I'd just like to say that these aren't military-style weapons, no matter what they say. The key word is style. They're similar to military guns in their cosmetics, but not in the way they operate. So when we say we should ban these semi-automatic Bushmaster weapons, they're mainly rifles that are made to hunt deer or made for defense purposes, and they've been used for self-defense, and I don't think banning them will curb the violence. So therefore, we should focus on other issues, and we should not ban automatic weapons.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's time. Could you move across the house, shake hands, and thank each other for a fine debate? Okay, bring your chairs close together so you can both be on camera. Could you fill your ballots out quickly, please? It's a matter of deciding on a side and sending it over since you've already filled it out. Thank you. Yeah, one quickly. You want to have one for souvenir? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm going to give them out. I'm going to give a packet out next time. Okay. Thank you. Did everyone get the roll sheet? Thank you. Okay. On a 5-9 decision, the opposition was victorious. And for the people that didn't get to speak last time and state their reasons for decision, we will start with them this time. So that would be you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Iran.
Hi, Iran.
I went ahead and voted for the opposition, and the main reason is I felt during your initial argument you spoke very little about actually banning assault automatic weapons. You spent a tremendous amount of time talking about semi-automatic weapons that you need to, and general gun stats. And I thought that the opposition's arguments, just that the increase of murders when there was an actual ban was a very compelling argument, and it wasn't really refuted. And also the alternative approach to fixing psychological problems was also a very good argument.
It's compelling to you. Good. Thank you. Yes, please. We have a little bit more time, so let's try to incorporate not only your reason for decision, but let's say something positive and something helpful they might do better next time.
Okay. Hi, my name's Ian.
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Ian.
How much brutal honesty do you guys want?
How much what?
How much brutal honesty do you guys want?
Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, that's how they grow.
Make them cry.
Alright,
So.
so the default decision always goes like if both sides are really, really, this is not what happened, but if both sides are really, really bad, the default decision always goes to the government. Not both sides were not really, really bad, but I did go with the government. Primary reasons: government side for your plan. One, you talked about performing background checks. That's actually what already happens in like 99% of states already. So you're not creating a big shift in the status quo. But whatever. Second Amendment law, or Second Amendment freaking change is actually pretty interesting. I like that. Because it got rid of his argument saying that freaking it contradicts the Second Amendment. Well, it doesn't matter because you're changing it. You also have the clear and present danger doctrine. That's actually an old law that only applies to the First Amendment, and it's actually not in effect anymore. So you can't really apply it to something else. That's Schenck. Now we go with Brandenburg. It's something different.
Overbreadth.
Yeah. And then you also went way beyond banning just automatic weapons, which it's not necessarily a horrible thing to do. It just makes yourself much more vulnerable to attack, which I don't think was a good idea because you also did the whole semi-automatic thing. It makes your position harder to defend.
More to prove.
Yeah.
More goo out there. Yeah.
However, for the opposition, you're just boiling it all down. Your solution was basically give hugs to people. It's this whole interpersonal approach, and it didn't really talk that much about semi-automatic weapons themselves. So I felt like while the government team didn't have a ton of points indicating why we should ban assault weapons, your primary point was school shootings and mass shootings, you didn't really do that much to refute it because you talked about a counter plan, but you didn't actually indicate how this changes anything in status quo with assault weapons. So you didn't really show that assault weapons are not something that need to be banned.
But then I said like, oh, the crime rate went up when they were banned. But maybe that wasn't as good.
Which is basically you guys had direct your statistics directly conflicted, and again, when you negate each other, the default goes to the government, and there wasn't anything else. That was your only real point. That being said, presentation was actually excellent, especially for guys who've never debated before. Like, it was actually really good. You guys were very, very calm, collected. You sound authoritative. Actually, I'd like to see another debate by you guys because that was actually really well done. So, very good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ian. Yes, please.
Hi, Warren. And then with the
Hi, Warren.
but with the opposition because I like his rebuttal better because provide more evidence, more counter arguments to you with evidence, and
Can you say something they could do better, Warren?
probably get better solutions because changing the Second Amendment is pretty hard already. And
Okay, good. Let's go here.
Hi, Bradley.
Hi, Bradley.
I voted in favor of the affirmative.
Yes.
I voted in favor of the affirmative because I thought, even though banning or changing the Second Amendment you said would be hard, it seemed to defeat what you were saying about the Second Amendment. And then also, I felt like what you're saying about the Second Amendment doesn't really prove how that would include semi-automatic weapons. It just says that we have the right to bear arms, but you didn't really connect it to how it would play out with automatic weapons.
Something they could do better, maybe?
I think talk about the other person's points directly more. Just because it seems like you're going back and forth, but kind of missing each other. So it was hard to sort of see whose points were better than the other person because it didn't really seem like they were connected.
We call that two ships in the night. And as Ian talked about, when you have conflicting evidence, when you have evidence that's directly contradictory, you want to talk about that contradiction and try to resolve, you, the rhetors, resolve it for the audience. Now, we presented a Mother Jones study that was 2014. They, on the other hand, present some old evidence from the Wall Street Journal. And, clearly we update them. Our evidence is superior. Something like that would resolve it for your audience. Don't leave it to your audience to resolve or to throw it up in the air and go, gee, I don't know. I guess I'll go with presumption. Yes, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
I was going back and forth, but I ended up voting for the government. And mainly because you talked about education, but the opposition...
Talk about what?
Education.
Yes.
But the opposition didn't focus or specify how education was going to reduce the crime. So I would say for next time, just be a little bit more specific, so that would convince people a little bit more.
Right.
Or the first.
Not to get put too fine a point on it, but if you're going to present what we sort of would call in the debate vernacular kind of a counter plan or a counter proposal, then you want to present us with some specific evidence, some arguments from authority that show that somehow, somewhere, somehow this has worked in some places, and that this is what Nicole was concerned about. You didn't prove that it would work. Prove to me that it would be better, or that you have the same kind of solvency you were demanding that he show in his affirmative case. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
I voted for the proposition just because his appeal to emotion of like the shootings at the schools and the theater of like innocent civilians
Yes.
was the cause of the automatic weapons.
Yes.
My only thing was similar to Ian's is the background checks are already very common, so the solution of the background checks it's already there.
Yeah.
It's not much more of an extended solution.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. You say the appeal to emotion got you, and that's an interesting point, because sometimes some people feel that appeal to emotion is kind of a cheap argument or a cheap way to get a decision, but other people feel it's important to personalize it and to show that they're actually human beings suffering and school children and that sort of thing. So I'm glad you raised the issue, because we do want to not pretend that pathos is not a part of the argumentation process. Did you want to comment?
Well, yeah, I have one point. Actually,
Say your name, please.
My name's Ron. It actually goes to both debates, the one previously too. It's unusual that nobody's talking about other countries that have actually tried what is being recommended as a refute or as evidence. So I thought, maybe that would have been something interesting to see what other countries have tried and whether or not that was successful or not.
Yeah, one thing that other countries can be useful for is solvency, because if another state or another country has tried it and it has worked, and they've seen a decrease in mass shootings, then you can say, hey, it worked in Sweden, maybe it worked here.
Australia is a great example for people.
Australia may be a great example. She has to leave, so she wants to give her point before she leaves. She has places to go, people to meet. By the way, before any of the rest of you, I had a couple of email inquiries. Some of you felt cheated that you didn't get to present your briefs orally, and I said that if any of you wanted to come to office hours at 4 o'clock, you could do that. And if you want to bring your laptops, I can download it right straight onto your computer too. So if any of you still want that opportunity, just let me know. That's fine. Okay, go ahead.
I am Thing, and I'm on the
Hi, Thing.
opposition. Because I see you really young, a human really start at you say how the solution will work. And when the government asks you the question about the mass shooting, and you say that the murder they should have go through a process. They don't need to choose the they know the weapon they want to use. So banning the automatic weapon cannot stop them to use another gun or cannot decrease the mass shooting. So that's why I agree with you.
So you think he had a real solvency problem? You think it's still going to happen, huh?
Yes, it will happen if you ban the automatic weapon.
Okay, good, fair enough. Thank you. Okay, where did we leave off? Here, yes, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
I like both of their arguments, both of their sides. One thing that kind of got to me is during the cross-examination, they kept saying my opinion 2 times.
Yeah.
I guess just stay to the facts and fight your argument like that. But I voted for the opposition because I agree with his points on education and his about the background checks, how how they work, but then there are also instances of those who are mentally ill or those who can get weapons without background checks. And he had a good he explained that pretty well, and that's what kind of sold
That
it
was
to me.
compelling to you. Huh? What didn't work for you? What could they do better? Either one of them.
Staying on the facts.
Staying on the facts, flowing on forward. Would you like to make a comment, either helpful or
not helpful.
how you voted and why?
Sure. I'm Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
I voted for the opposition mainly because I agree that if someone wants to do a mass shooting, they will find a way to do it. And like with my example earlier with the Jerry Lochner thing, he had a pistol, and he didn't need an automatic rifle to kill people. So they will find a way. And I liked Farhan's vocalization a lot better than Keaton's. He was louder. That makes like a difference to me because he was more fluent with his speech. Sorry, but that's something
That's okay.
you could work
That's
on.
the kind of
next
feedback
time.
we want to hear from our
Yeah.
fellow classmates and from myself, so we get better. Yeah.
Because I actually, like, I don't want to be mean. I found yours to be, like, a little dull just by the way you were talking.
Reading in monotone. Yeah.
Yeah, but Farhan was a little better. That's also why I voted a little bit towards that way. Besides, I also just don't think you should ban all automatic weapons. I think you should reduce it, but not ban it altogether.
Okay. Before I make a couple of general comments, it would be helpful. Anybody else burning to say something or say their decision or make some helpful comments? Anybody else feel left out or cheated? Want to speak? You look like you're burning to speak.
No, I'm doing this.
You're burned out. Let me talk first about Keaton's case to start with. One thing I think all of you can do is, you know, the narrative I've got going there with the, what's the problem, how big's the problem. I think you can really emphasize that with your voice. And I have it blackened in some of the examples I gave you to really make that question stand out. We were kind of lost sometimes. We didn't even know where you were in your argumentation. Were you on solvency? Were you on a plan? Were you still on the harms? We don't know because we didn't know what question you were answering. So make your question really stand out. So stronger narrative would really be helpful. Both of you still need to remember, and you did a better job of this, of putting the date and qualifying your sources when you give them, and have it right within the material. Let's talk about definitions for a minute. You're not going to get that much argumentation on the definitions, so I didn't feel I took a few points off for you for going to the definitions and just basically restating them, but not making any impact from what you did. You just basically said, now here are the definitions, and you went over them again, but there was no impact to that. Why did we need to go over definitions again? And I think if you agree on definitions, you can just say definitions are contextually defined and move on and spend more of your time on the substance of your case. But I want you to have the definitions in there so you're in the same semantic space. Similarly, on your case, on the negative case, were any of you confused when Farhan started presenting how violent and how bad and how awful guns are? Now, I was wondering what strategy you were going for, and then when you finally got to the counter plan, it made a little bit more sense. I wouldn't necessarily have put that in. I would have more had you picked at and refuted his statistics and his harms, rather than even put more harms in that guns are really a problem and stuff. See?
But it was like, what is the problem? So like, how
What is the problem? And you're going to say the problem is not automatic weapons. It's not automatic weapons. And so you'll not want to put in more statistics that guns are really bad and awful. Okay, because that just helped build his case that we have a problem with guns. If nothing else, leave it out. Okay, I don't think this is that big a problem. I like your counter plan and your counter definition. It just needed more work. On the cross-X, let me say something about the cross-X. Both of you are guilty of this. Don't give softball questions and then let your opponent go on for a minute. That's ineffective cross-examination. That's just giving him a speech that helps them, advance their argumentation cause. Ask penetrating short. If you've read the article on the website, ask short, closed-ended questions. Some that are even yes or no. Some that are even isn't it a fact? Isn't it? And make it short-ended so that you get short questions and short answers that you can then do something with later on. So that's my suggestion on the cross-X. And then the rebuttals. Once you saw me say go back for the impact of ban to the impact of either ban or don't ban, that you saw now how to do that. That's better. That's better how to do that. I would have liked you, Farhan, and the opposition to have more clash on the case, and I think that's what you were getting at, of staying more on the facts of the case, of going down and saying, now he had all this evidence, and here's my response to it. He said, I disagree, and here's why. He said he said that his solution is doing this, but I disagree, and here's why. So I'm looking for more clash from the negative side on the case in the first speech and in the rebuttal. Any questions or comments about this first thing? I think we need to give them a hand for being the guinea pig. And the other thing is, who's doing the fracking debate? Have you had a chance to look at the one online on YouTube? So you got a chance to see that, and did you get a chance? You haven't had a chance to look at it?
Yeah.
But do you know how to get to YouTube? Do you know what YouTube is? And you know how to find it under UCLA Debate Union, fracking? Okay. I recommend you watch it. It will be helpful to you so you can see the format, get some evidence ideas. There were some excellent evidence. Which side are you?
I'm like
Are you in favor of fracking?
Yeah.
Favor of the ban?
Favor of fracking. I'm favor of the ban.
You're in favor of the ban. Okay. There's good evidence on both sides on it. So good leads for evidence, good ideas on the new technology that has made fracking very safe. Some of the old studies in that old movie where the faucets just catching on fire. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Who's the other debate? And what's it on? Okay, and how's that coming and going? Are you Washington? Are you guys traded? You're
I'm gonna give them just definitions, and we're gonna trade briefs.
Yeah, okay. The sooner the better, so we have better clash. Yeah. I said 24 hours, but if you can make it longer, that's even better. Okay, watch for your email. I'm going to put the schedule up for the rest of the quarter. We'll try to start early or on time on next Thursday, so be here, be square. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
That's briefing for this too.
Yeah.
We don't have to incorporate the reputation and the content, right?
No. Oh, yeah, here's a good question that was just asked. You could turn in your cross-examination questions to me, too, with your brief if you want to. But you don't have to. The brief you hand me before the debate.
Okay, so
you can turn in your cross-examination questions.
Yeah, you were just like, okay, I didn't know if you were. And then I was like, my thing was like, okay, I don't know if we're going to get through this. It looked like a lot shorter than when I presented. I was just like, dude, I'm not going to get this through. I cut so many. like so many more things.
I cut off my strongest point. I lost the 139.
You still won though.
Yeah. But yeah, for the definitions to do this, you're actually going to argue about the definition. Like, he defines all weapons as this.
You want to go?
But don't we agree to it?
I
Anyway.
You don't have to. You can debate everything in this thing. I've even seen.
What's the topic?
Don't do this. I've actually seen people debate the resolution.
Oh yeah.
They're just like, this resolution is abusive. That's only tournaments.
Yeah.
One of the
But anyways,
yeah,
you spend a lot of
solutions, right?
Oh yeah.
For my part, legalize marijuana.
Professor Cole would disagree with me.
What should be the solution? Because
I don't like stuff.
it's already
In the debate, some states is like an actual debate.
I don't hear like more about the stories and stuff.
And like in debates like
We like California.
there are
Yeah,
they tell you the topic 15 minutes beforehand, and then you debate it. So I don't like much stats because I feel like if you just sit there and read statistics to me, you're not talking about it.
programs more.
I think that shows that I think like persuasiveness is a lot more important than just raw
negative.
Yeah. Well,
I want a serious indictment of Colorado and
I think that comes with
all the problems. Okay, we'll get out of here.
You don't necessarily have to make it the big structure.
Yeah, that's good source. Just like the Wall Street
through
Journal.
my entire thing.
Yeah, they're covering it closely.
It's really good, seriously.
You guys
Yeah.
really good too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you can email me.
Aren't you glad it's over?
Yeah.
I was like, no, like,
I versus last week in email.
I don't know. Like, I always get really nervous.
Oh, good, yeah.
But if you're the negative, then you can go
Oh, good, very good.
Yeah, you can
Okay,
just
how do you like it?
if
How do you like
like
it?
team wants to debate on what a definition is.
I didn't like it.
You
You weren't that Yes, I saw
Good to
myself.
see you.
Oh yeah,
Okay, you're welcome.
Good looking at it.
Yeah, that's great. When will the agreements be out?
I don't know, as soon as I've read the briefs, you can see tentatively what you got right now.
Sure. I'm curious. Wait, what's this? Oh, that's just the,
That just
that's
says
just the
10
comment.
round.
I think you stuck better with the format than I did.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know why you didn't
you have too many bad habits established
They're
already.
good habits in competition.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
no, that's fine.
You didn't bring up my zombie thing.
I didn't want to.